Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of MetsMusings. Hope everybody had a great couple of weeks out there. Well, the Mets have finally made it official. They've hired Carlos Mendoza as their new manager. The Mendoza era begins, and he spoke passionately about his experience in the game and about staying in New York and coming to the Mets. He spoke for about 45 minutes alongside President of Baseball of Operations David Stearns. He was very happy and smiled as he discussed the process that ended with him switching boroughs from the Bronx to the Queens. He also said that he felt the connection with the Mets right away, explaining that he was interviewing them at the same time that they were interviewing him. As a first time manager, will be under media microscope in the biggest city in the world. Mendoza is embracing the pressure. As he said, the fan base will let you know as soon as you walk out of that ballpark because you left a pitcher in too long or because you took him out too early. I know what it feels like. I know what it takes, Mendoza noted while talking about the experience he got while managing in winter ball. Mendoza also touched on the culture that already exists within the organization, citing the 2022 team that won 100 games. Uh, he has a lot to work with. Lots of the core pieces of that team were still in place, including Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, and Edwin Diaz. And I don't think you'll be looking to see any or too many of those guys traded any time soon. Mendoza went on to say, I'm coming in to continue to add to that culture, to continue to add those positive things that we're already building a couple of years ago. When we start talking about culture, I do believe that culture is not just your tradition. Culture is driven by the people that you come in contact with every day, and that starts from ownership, from David as the president of baseball operations and his people, myself as the manager. That is eventually going to go and trickle down through the coaching staff, players, and everybody in the organization through player development all the way to the Dominican Republic. Culture is driven by us, by the way we connect, by the way we think, by the way we value our culture, by the way we communicate each and every day. And that's my goal, to continue to drive that culture. And when it comes to his managing style, Mendoza said that starting with his time as a player, he was taught to play the game with fundamentals, to respect the game, and to pay attention to details. And folks like the sound of that. They want to go back to the fundamentals, bunting, stealing a base, hit and run plays, make the right defensive play, throw to the right base. People want to do that. They want to see that. That's the way the game is. And hopefully he lives up to that and decide to do that. And they've got to spread that, I think, throughout the minor leagues and hope for all the best. But congratulations to Carlos Mendoza, as we said last episode, that he was going to get the job, and now it is officially announced by the Mets that Carlos Mendoza will be the new manager of the New York Mets. So, it's not a bad job for a first-time manager. He comes in with a team that has some talent. Yes, there are some holes to fill and there are some tweaks to be made, but it's not an awful situation. And, it should be easy, not easy to work with, but it's going to be a lot better to work with than some of these other teams that he could have been hired by. So we'll see how he makes out as time goes on. Don't forget the winter meetings are coming up. So we'll see what what effect that has on the team as well. We will be seeing some familiar faces as Mendoza has decided to bring back some familiar faces. One of those being Eric Chavez, who will return to the Mets in his original position of hitting coach, with Jeremy Bond serving as co-hitting coach. Chavez joined the Mets coaching staff in 2022 under Buck Showalter. He had moved from hitting coach to bench coach last season, but now will go back, as he's been retained. He'll go back to being the hitting coach. Chavez, Barnes, and pitching coach Jeremy Hefner have all been retained under Mendoza, who is still looking to fill a bench coach role. The rumor is that it could be Willie Randolph, the former Mets manager, could also make the trek across the city to the Queens and come back to a place that he really got a little bit of a raw deal, but that was a different owner and a different organization. So, Willie could come back and get the job as a bench coach, and it would be pretty interesting to see that. He's good friends with Mendoza, and it might work out very well. Willie had a good run when he was here and as manager, and uh he's got that experience and never caught on anywhere again, never really got hired as a manager again, and I don't know why, but he did a good job when he was here. So uh Mendoza back. Chavez will remain as with the organization, but he'll come back as the hitting coach. And hey, look, it's a job, people might think it's a demotion, but he got some valuable experience as a bench coach, puts that on his resume. He's back as the hitting coach. He is right there. I'm sure he can still offer advice to Mendoza if he thinks it warrants it. He's still working with the players and everything. So and as I said, it's a job, and there's only 29 other jobs of that type available throughout baseball. So you take what you get. And Jeremy Hefner, there was rumors that he may be leaving, but apparently he is going to stay as well. Some people that are not coming back are there was a non-tender deadline that we've passed on the 17th, and the Mets chose not to offer contracts to certain people. They've decided to decline contracts for Daniel Vogelbach. No big surprise, and 4 others. The other 4 players include right-handed pitchers Jeff Brigham, Sam Coonrod, and Trevor Gott, as well as Luis Guillorme. Now, there's a couple of surprises there. Brigham was good in some spots, and thought there may be a chance they'd bring him back. Trevor Gott, they got in a trade and never really clicked here. So I kind of can see that. Coonrod, I think, was injured a lot during the season, and Luis Guillorme was also injured. But I'm sorry to see Luis go. He's a homegrown guy, terrific glove. Look, he hit pretty good. He hit very well, I should say, in 2022. So I'm surprised they're not bringing him back. But I guess with the addition of Maurizio and Batty and Kuno coming, that they have enough guys that they can spread around the infield and have utility guys around to fill a slot that Guillorme would have filled on this team. So we say goodbye to Luis Guillorme. The Mets also announced that they came to a 1-year agreement with DJ Stewart to remain with the team. The contract is reportedly worth $1.38 million. All other players will be tendered a contract, and that includes Peter Alonso, Drew Peterson, Joey Lucchese, and Drew Smith. And I think that's David Peterson, not Drew Peterson. And that all kind of makes sense. All right, let's take a quick break, and we will be back with some more Met news right after this.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for interesting baseball talk, opinions, and history.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for barbecue recipes, tips, and interviews from the world of barbecue. If you like baseball and if you like barbecue, then tune in to Baseball and BBQ. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and BaseballTalkRadio.com.
Did you know that Baseball PhD can be heard on BaseballTalkRadio.com?
Our shows rotate with other top baseball podcasts.
Now don't forget, that's BaseballTalkRadio.com.
With us, we'll help you get a PhD in life through baseball.
With BaseballTalkRadio.com, you'll hear the rest of the excellent universe of baseball podcasts.
Hello, baseball fans. You're listening to Baseball Talk Radio, the home of great baseball talk shows. At BaseballTalkRadio.com, you're going to find great shows like this one with the great Gary Mack and the MetsMusings podcast. And now back to the show.
Okay, and we're back, and the MLB announced their Gold Glove winners for the 2023 season, and Francisco Lindor won it for the position of shortstop in the National League. Past season was a great one for the Mets shortstop. First, he became the first Met since Carlos Beltran to put together a 30-30 season with 31 homers and 31 stolen bases. He also finished with 108 runs scored, 33 doubles, 98 RBI, and a .806 OPS. Lindor had some staff competition for the award, as Xander Bogaerts, Dansby Swanson, and Trey Turner were all finalists for the award. Mets first baseman Pete Alonso was also named as a finalist for his position, but the award went to the Braves' Matt Olson. Carlos Beltran is back with the Mets. He will serve as a special assistant in the new regime. New president of baseball operations, David Stern, said in an interview with Andy Martino. Stern said he talked to Beltran at the midpoint of the managerial search process and that he thinks Beltran is happy where he is, specifically citing Beltran having young children he wants to be around consistently. Wants that 9-to-5 job. In other front office news, the Mets added Eduardo Brizuela as a vice president and special assistant to David Stearns, according to Will Salmon of The Athletic. Brizuela spent more than 15 years with the Milwaukee Brewers prior. He was also GM for Team Venezuela in the 2023 Baseball Classic. And more news, Mets left-handed pitcher David Peterson underwent surgery to repair the labrum in his left hip, the team announced. Per the Mets, a typical return to play for this type of procedure Peterson had is 6 to 7 months. He had a solid finish to the 2023 season after an uneven start that resulted in him being demoted to AAA Syracuse, and he was expected to be a valuable part of New York's rotation depth entering 2024, but his ability to contribute will now be delayed. A 6-month timeline would mean a return around the second week of May, while a 7-month timeline would mean Peterson would not be a factor on the big league mound until after Memorial Day. And if you look at 8 months, it could be in June sometime. But maybe that's not a bad thing. If they can get by the first part of the season, maybe he will be ready to go in the second part when you could really use a fresh arm either in the rotation or out of the bullpen. So sometimes it turns out to be a blessing if you have to fill a spot, and then he can come on later on and pitch well in the clutch and the stretch situations. It might work out for them. We'll have to see how it goes. And that's it. I mean, the buzz around the Mets, of course, is Pete Alonso. The Cubs are interested in trading for him, but what they think they want to offer is nothing to get Pete Alonso, and even I that am open to trading him, don't think what the Cubs had suggested as the focal point of the trade was worth it. So hopefully the Mets don't take a bite on that, but they will be listening to offers. I mean, they have to. You always have to listen to offers for everybody on your team. And look, if the right package comes along, it's a tough one because he's a fan favorite, but you really have to try to think about it and take it and make the move if it looks like a good deal and if you think it's going to work for your team. It's the only way you make the team better sometimes is by addition by subtraction. And if you can get someone that or a few someones that you think are going to help, then you have to make that move. And with Scott Boras as his agent, he's going to take him to free agency, I believe. And the Mets will make an effort, I believe, to extend his contract, and we'll see what that is. But he's looking for well past what Matt Olson and Freddie Freeman got, and you can argue either way. Freddie Freeman's a better first baseman, a better hitter overall, but it doesn't have the power numbers. Olson has the power numbers, but he's not as good as the average, perhaps. I think they're about even, though, now. I really do. As far as that, and he may not be the defense is equal, I would say. So, but they're going to shoot for 200 million plus. So maybe 225, 8 years, 225 would be in the right range to offer a contract to him like that. Who knows? We'll see what their thinking is. All right, and that's going to wrap it up for this week's show. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will hit the subscribe button and the like bell on YouTube if you're watching this video of the podcast. If you're listening to the audio, also hit the subscribe button so you'll always know when a new episode comes out. And we are available, the audio is available on all of your favorite podcast app. So until next time, keep the faith, stay optimistic with the meetings coming up, and let's go Mets. And I'll see you next time on another edition of Mets Musings.